Hey, how you doing? My name is Alex McDonald, and I'm recording this video to share with you a little bit from my book, Soar Higher, the simple seven-step process to rising above every limiting belief. And I wrote this book and published it, and I was very blessed to have my friend, Mr. Matthew Russ, write the foreword in this book. And I'm going to share with you something that was a bonus content inside of this. But first, I want to share with you a short story. And that story is about a man named Cliff Young. The year was 1983, and he decided to do something that was unbelievable. In Australia, there's this race that goes from Sydney to Melbourne, and it's a race that snakes across Australia's beautiful southeast corner, covering a distance of over 550 miles. And it's actually considered a real man-killer event, even by seasoned ultra runners who are used to racing across the hottest deserts and the coldest, most barren terrains on the planet. So 1983, this guy, Cliff Young, decided to enter into this event. Now, Cliff was not your average athlete. In fact, he was not your average anything. He was a cowhand, and he was frequently responsible for rounding up cattle after violent thunderstorms. He did this not with the aid of GPS or a Hummer or a small light aircraft, but by running around on foot after the cloven hoof scallywags over an area the size of a small US state. So picture this guy, he's running around all over the desert of Australia, gathering up these cattle after bad thunderstorms. Now, Cliff Young knew he had high levels of stamina, but this was another matter altogether because most of the entrants were super fit runners in their prime. So Cliff Young was a little bit past his prime. He was 61 years old with little competitive experience. However, the one thing Cliff possessed in spades was a burning belief that he could and he would complete that race. He didn't have any self-limiting beliefs. Now, I'm sharing the story about Cliff Young. It's not in this book. I wish I would have found this story and maybe included it in this. But just to show you that when you get rid of self-limiting beliefs, you can accomplish amazing things. Now, he could have developed these self-limiting beliefs because of what everyone else was saying. There were actually calls for him to be banned for his own safety, but whereas the rules excluded runners that were too young, nobody could see anything discriminating against people being too old. So the organizers reluctantly allowed Cliff to run. It was a hot day in Sydney when Cliff turned up wearing overalls and galoshes over his work boots, which all the other 150 competitors and all the press and spectators, they just started laughing and be like, what is this guy doing? Like they couldn't believe that this guy shows up to this ultra running event that people die at wearing overalls and galoshes and work boots. So the race started out, and to nobody's surprise, the farmhand, Mr. Cliff Young, was soon lagging behind the seasoned runners. And he had a very strange way of running that meant he barely lifted his feet off the ground and moved forward looking more like a cross-country skier than a marathon runner. Halfway through the first night, Cliff rather remarkably took the lead. How did he do that? I was thinking. Well, rather than stopping for the traditional sleep break that most ultra runners took part in, Cliff took a fraction of the time that the others took, and he just kept going. And as he's going, he's eating pears straight out of a tin can so that he can get himself energy. Like imagine this old guy just skiing down the road with his overalls and cans of pears just moving along. So by the following morning, much to the amazement of everybody, Cliff had built up a substantial lead. It was an impressive performance, but the old-timer was inevitably going to relinquish his lead when he needed to stop for a proper break himself. Only he never needed to do so. He was driven by the belief that he could rest as long as he wanted once the race was over. The only thing he thought of was that finish line. Nobody had told Cliff he was supposed to stop for 6 hours every evening, so he just kept on running and running and running. Cliff did the unexpected in finishing the race. Nobody believed he'd even finish this race, but he did the truly remarkable in not just winning it. So he finished, he won, but most magnificently, he amassed a staggering 10-hour winning margin. He beat every one of these trained runners by over 10 hours. 1983, 61-year-old Cliff Young did this. So this guy, he decided what was possible for him, not his family, not his friends, or even society as a whole. He didn't let the media who was laughing at him, the fans who were laughing at him, he didn't let the other runners who were laughing at him decide anything for him. He set his parameters in life, and he set his own beliefs about what he could achieve. So a 61-year-old amateur rewrote the book on distance running. And suddenly others realized what was possible and started to believe that if Cliff could do it, so could they. They didn't suddenly increase their stamina overnight, but they did increase their belief in what was possible. No athlete has ever won the Sydney to Melbourne race since then, taking regular sleep breaks. So before Cliff Young, everyone was taking the regular 6-hour sleep breaks. But then they saw this old guy, and they're like, okay, that's a strategy we can use. It's just so remarkable. And so you can do what you believe you can do 100% of the time. And I want to share something from this book, Soar Higher, really quickly. I'm going to share my screen. You can get this book from Amazon. Just go to amazon.com and let me show you real quick. Type in Soar Higher Alex and you'll find this book. You can get the ebook, you can get the paperback, or if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. And we're getting some really good reviews, so hopefully you'll be able to leave your own review after you read it. Stop the share. And then let me go into the book. I'm going to go to chapter 9 and share with you just one principle really quickly that has made a huge impact on my own life. So here is bonus step number 8 in chapter 9. And I'm just going to skim through a little bit of this and then leave you with an assignment. So I truly believe that when you have statements that you can repeat over and over, but first remember, repetition plus emotion create that belief. And so there's statements that are filled with emotion. When you repeat these over and over, it begins to reprogram your subconscious mind. Whenever you use a statement that is in the Bible, I consider that being able to quickly pull out your sword and fight off the enemy. So I got the information of repetition plus emotion from Tyus Gibson, who has a YouTube channel, has a personal development school, and it's just amazing. And Tyus and myself and a bunch of others like Mr. Bill Lewis and Mr. Timothy McClure, my wife Stephanie, we all believe that'll make you unstoppable. So positive affirmations are so much more than just feel-good quotes and positive statements. In short, positive affirmations are statements that are repeated to encourage and uplift the person speaking them. In reality, a positive affirmation is part of the language of the brain. I'll explain more about this in the next section, but for now, let's look at the 3 elements that make up a positive affirmation. Because positive affirmations are written in the language of the brain, your brain has to have a specific formula. If you come across a quote on the internet or in a book that claims to be a positive affirmation but does not follow this formula, your brain actually won't even register that thought accurately. It turns out our brains are pretty strict and straightforward about the language rules. And some of this information I got from Psycho-Cybernetics, and I got from a couple of other books that are just so powerful. So here are the 3 simple rules for creating effective affirmation statements. Number 1, positive affirmations are always in the present tense. They can't be future, they can't be past, they have to be right now. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between any of those words, but it understands right now. So if you see a positive affirmation that says, I will, or I used to, or I'm going to, just move on from that, rewrite it, or throw it away. Your brain only responds to present tense statements. And I had some statements that I had written that were I will, and I had to edit them. And actually, in the process of writing this book, my wife who's the editor of this, just want to thank Stephanie for all the hard work she did in putting up with me. We actually had a little bit of an argument because I was clinging to that so tightly, but she was able to speak truth to me in love, and we were able to edit that. That way, this book is relevant and powerful to help all of you that pick up this book, that see this video. And that's truly what we want, is we want to be able to serve others in a massive capacity and help you be able to live the life you've always wanted, help you to soar higher and to live those dreams. So number 2, positive affirmations only include positive words. If you see a positive affirmation words with don't, can't, or won't, it's not a statement you'll want to repeat. It takes your brain a lot of extra work to get past negative statements and transform them into positive ones. So don't say things like, I won't ever yell again. I won't ever yell again, because then your brain's hearing yell again, and then you end up exploding and yelling. Don't say things like, I can't lose, or something like that. I don't know. Just get rid of those words. And then number 3, positive affirmations are spoken as statements of fact and truth. Statements that contain words like might or could aren't nearly as powerful as statements that contain words like am and do. There are some statements that I picked up throughout this journey that I'll share with you right now, but feel free to create your own. Find some others and also use these. Statements like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Because Jesus died for my sins, I am no longer separated from God. I live in close union with him. I am a walking, talking good deal. It ain't over till I win. Every single day, in every single way, I'm becoming more healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am enough. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Every day of my life is filled with love and joy. For those of us that have gone through financial situations or not having enough money, things like that, I am overcoming a temporary financial setback. I am overcoming a temporary financial setback. I never give up. I always win. So now at this time, I'd like to share with you a formula that I learned from a life leadership audio by a gentleman named Rob Robson. And I use this to craft a longer, more in-depth affirmation statement. Now, to tell you a little bit about Rob, definitely want to encourage you to find his audios or get to an event where he's speaking live and experience this guy. I think he has a YouTube channel as well, but he is just absolutely on fire. And he's been a huge blessing in my life. So here's a little bit of the story. He grew up in Arizona and was involved in some circles that were causing his friends to get arrested and even overdose and die. And he was actually in a rollover accident where one of his friends died, or a couple of his friends passed away, and he survived that crash. So he had his own limiting beliefs, and in a triumphant turn of events, he had a multi-millionaire come into his life and put him on a very strict diet of personal development audios and self-help books. In the library here, I got the same book that he had read over and over. So this gentleman that was a multimillionaire told Rob that he needed to shut himself up because he kept telling himself limiting beliefs. He kept telling himself lies. So in that process, Rob read Think and Grow Rich dozens of times and changed his life. Through the deep study of that book, he came up with this formula for an affirmation statement. I'll share mine at the end of this chapter. And in this book, I leave space for you to write your own. So if you can, grab a pen and piece of paper and start writing this formula out, and then start writing your own and applying it to your own life. So write out an I am statement with 2 things regarding your faith. Next, think of 3 people throughout history that are heroes to you. Now, write down 1 trait from each that they have that you want to embody. Things like love, strength, joy, passion. Next, write out a sentence saying, my life is full of those 3 attributes. And so feel free to rewind this video, pause, and write down these things. Next is your talents. What are your top 2 natural talents or positive characteristics or gifts? And write out a sentence with these 2 things. Then write out a sentence that says, I am excellent at. The next thing would be your family. What is your most important contribution to your family? The next is your perfect day. What are the things you would do for yourself, for your purposeful work, and for those closest to you? Example, today I'm balancing my time between these three things. We're going to live like today is the last day. What value am I going to add every person I meet today? And the next three I am statements, they describe improvements in wealth, body, and mind in the present tense. Define your calling, what's special about what you can accomplish. And then finally, the end, a synopsis of what I want my life to be and the price I'm willing to pay. And then repeat it over and over and over. Get that emotion plus repetition and program your subconscious mind. And I guarantee you, if you follow it correctly, repeat it enough and put enough emotion into it, it'll bring about those things and set you on a direct path to accomplishing it. Now, next, I share in the book, how do you effectively use this? And lots of good stuff in there, but I'm not going to focus on it right now. I just want to encourage you to get the book. But I do want to share with you at the end of this, my own affirmation statement that I was able to create. And thinking back, some of the things that I've learned about myself, some of the things that I've experienced, some of the successes we've had, we can see this coming true. And I know I need to keep on repeating it, keep on saying it, and keep on living it out, because God has amazing plans for myself and for you and for those that you get to touch. So do this work, and it's going to be a huge blessing to you. So here's my affirmation statement. I am a visionary who can see the future God has planned for myself, my family, and others. I am humble, and I know God is responsible for anything I receive, and all the glory goes back to Him. I'm a servant among all others. My life is full of love, courage, and honesty. My top two natural talents are to be calm in any situation and to see good always. I expect a victory. I'm excellent at always searching for knowledge. I do love my wife like Christ loved the church. I constantly die to self. My faithful marriage to Stephanie is a dream come true, and we are leading Julia, Rosalind, Xander, Ava, and Liam back to their Heavenly Father. Today, I am balancing my time connecting to my Creator, studying and learning from the greatest minds of all time. And I am humbly piecing together acquired knowledge into easy to understand, relatable lessons that can be shared with millions from stages, on recordings, in books, on the web, and personally through close connected relationships. We are going to live today like it's the last day. I'm going to add value through love and acceptance with every person I meet today. I am blessed with wealth beyond my wildest dreams. My body is healthy. My mind is strong, and I am strong and sharp. The impact I can make is unique, one that is impossible to repeat. I can build others up, lead them to political, financial, mental, and spiritual freedom, where all the glory goes to God in the name of Jesus Christ, my Savior. I want my life to be a prime example of God's grace and give to Him all the glory, and I'm willing to pay whatever price it takes. I am a visionary who can see the future that God has in store for myself, for my family, and for others. I love the fact that growing up, I never believed in myself. And then today I can tell myself, I am a visionary who can see what God has in store for myself, for my family, and others. And so what I see in store for you is you're going to be free, you're going to be confident, you're going to have so much self-worth, and you're going to accomplish so many things that are in your heart. I believe in you, and I love you. I'll see you at the top, so I'll see you real soon. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time.